All right, so as you can see in front of me, EcoFlow has done it again. They've expanded the Delta 3 line with some brand new bangers. So first off, EcoFlow is not sponsoring this video, but they did give me these units for free. And also the links down below will be affiliate links. So I'm going to introduce these units to you. I'm going to tell you the things I do and don't like about the units, and then I will help you make an informed decision to see if these will be right for you. So the new introduction to the lineup are the Delta 3 Classic and also the Delta 3 Max. The Delta 3 Plus has been out for a while, but this begins to round out EcoFlow's Delta 3 lineup. Which one is right for you depends on exactly what you need it for. They also have, I believe, the Delta 3 Ultra or the Delta 3 Max Plus. I don't have either one of those, but the ones I do have, I can give you a pretty good opinion about. So let's just talk about the newest for what I would call entering the lineup for EcoFlow. So this is the Delta 3 Classic. This unit here, it is a 1 kilowatt unit, specifically 1024 watt hours, and you do get 3 AC ports. 2 of them are 15 amp. One doesn't have the grounded plug on the bottom. You get 2 of the USB-Cs for this bad boy. Now these 2 USB-Cs, one does 100 watts, the other one does 30 watts. You get 1 USB-A, which does 18 watts. You get an LCD screen, and you don't get the ability to turn the USB-C ports on and off with the front of the unit. That's why this middle button is blank, where if you had a different unit, you would be able to do that. Doesn't have a power AC on and off button. The back of the unit, you get the AC input and you get the solar input. One thing you're going to see for this unit, it is very streamlined. I think it's manageable. I think that the way that EcoFlow decided to position this unit is below the Delta 3 Plus, and it makes sense what you're missing on this unit, and it may help guide you on whether or not this is what you're going to have and what you're going to use. So the unit itself, it can output on these AC ports up to 1800 watts. With X boost mode, you can get up to 2600 watts, which is their proprietary software. It kind of lets you use some of those common everyday items that may have a compressor that can push it a little bit further. You can turn on X boost and use those. These give you an uninterruptible power supply of 10 milliseconds. So you maybe want to use this for a CPAP or something that's critical. I think it's fast enough for use it for something like that. Although this unit is what I would call their starter model, you still get Bluetooth, you still get Wi-Fi, you still get access to the app. And for now, you still get access to some of my favorite features, like their Storm Guard feature, which is if you have this unit designed to set up parameters for charging, it will override those parameters if it senses a storm in your area based on your zip code. So stuff like that. So I like that you still get those details. Now, before we move on to like comparing it to the Delta 3 Plus, who's this for? This unit is really for someone that wants this for emergency power. You know, they really want a unit for emergency backup uses at their house, and they don't intend to use it every day. They're not going to run a, not going to run a PC off of it. They're not going to use it for backing up a NAS unit or anything like that. This is just literally something that you may not turn on very often, but you do know if you turn it on, it's going to be ready to rock and roll for you. So that, I think, makes sense. If you want something that's more daily use case, I really think that going with the Delta 3 Plus may make more sense for you, and I'm going to talk about why. First off, Delta 3 Plus, I've talked about this before. You're going to get an OLED screen versus the LCD. It looks a little bit better. You get more of the AC ports, 3 of those 15 amps, so 6 ports altogether. You do get more powerful USB-C ports. You can do up 140 watts output on these. You can turn the USB-C ports off with the button in the front. You get another USB-A port, and on the back of the unit, you're getting 2 inputs for solar. So that means you can go even faster with solar. You're also going to be able to use the battery expansions, what they sell on their website. And you're going to be able to use a DC output. So you can use this for if you have any immersion heaters or a warming blanket or something like that. You can use that. If these barrel plugs here, you're going to be able to use those as well. And you can use this just in a more versatile way. I mean, the Delta 3 Plus has a little bit more swag to it with some of these accents on the side, if that matters to you. I like the way that looks. So the Delta 3 Plus is my daily driver for my coffee area. I use this to just run those different areas to ensure that my coffee machine turns on at 5 in the morning. This turns it on. It turns off at 21:30 at night. I use this for that. But if you don't need the additional features, I really think the Classic may be the way to go. Save yourself some money and have a really good starting point for either one of the units. 1 kilowatt units, this is very comparable, in my opinion, to Anker's new C1000 Gen 2. But I do think that the app is significantly better in EcoFlow. Like, I know the app is better because I have Anker units, and I really like using the EcoFlow app versus the Anker app. We do have this unit here. This is the Delta 3 Max. The Delta 3 Max is going to be a 2 kilowatt unit, specifically 2048 watt hours. And this is a great unit if you need a little bit more runtime. So the Delta 3 Classic that I showed you, that's going to be good for like running a 150 watt refrigerator overnight, right? So 4 hours, 6 hours, maybe like a 30 watt light that goes along with it. Say, for instance, you got like a light you're using, it is an emergency outage. That's going to get you through the night. But if you want something that's going to run that refrigerator all day, you may want to look to get something like this. Also, during an emergency outage, if you want something that you can use your microwave with, this can easily handle the output of most microwaves, even some of the older ones that could easily go above the range of the Delta 3 Classic. With this one, you're still getting the fantastic features of the front where you can turn on those ports. You can turn on the AC port. You can turn the unit off and on. So with this one, you get 3 USB-C ports. 2 of them are 30 watts. One of them is going to be 100 watts. You get 1 USB-A port, and then you get 4 of the AC ports. Now the Delta 3 Max, I think, is going to be your entryway into the 2 kilowatt units. They are going to have the unit, which is the Delta 3 Max Plus, which I'm assuming is going to be extremely similar to the Delta 3 Plus. So this one here, you're only going to get 1 solar input. You're going to get the AC input. You do get the barrel plug. You do get the DC input here, but you don't get the barrel plugs. And you do have the switch here that lets you go from fast to adjustment type charging. So this unit is a great unit, as mentioned. If you also, let's say you want to use this for your everyday unit, such as keeping your PCs backed up. Maybe you have a bunch of audio equipment right behind me. I'm using over here over my left shoulder. There's a bunch of equipment recording this video as we speak. This unit is literally being ran by an EcoFlow unit. If I were to lose power in my house right now, all my recording equipment would stay on and continue to go. So for me, I use these things in an everyday type of way. Even my computers, which are behind me, which are turned off, those are backed up with an EcoFlow unit. So that way I know if I lose power, I'm good to go. Let's talk about testing for these units, because as much as we can talk about specs, I like to just run these units through a number of tests to see objectively, as best as possible, would these be worth your money. So I normally would test these over AC drain test, DC drain test. Can they maintain their concurrent wattage? So whatever watt they purport to be able to do, can they maintain that? Can they reach their peak wattage? What's their value, their AC input, solar input, capacity, average cost, and a bunch of other crap. Okay, so if we look at these, okay, so we have the EcoFlow Delta 3 Plus, which I've had for nearly a year, the EcoFlow Delta 3 Classic, and the Delta 3 Max. I think the Classic and the Max are both the entry levels for their respective areas, 1 kilowatt and 2 kilowatt. So if we look at the AC drain test, that's this first area right here. Basically what I do is I take what is the max capacity of that unit. I drain it. I'll put some B-roll over top of myself of what it looks like when I drain these units. And what do I get? And I do this test 3 times. It takes me a very long time to do this test. So for the Delta 3 Classic, I got an 82%. I'll tell you the exact numbers. For the Delta 3 Max, I got an 86%. And for the Delta 3 Plus, I have an 82%. For me, for your AC inverter, if you're not doing at least an 80 or above, that is a huge issue. If you're doing 85 or above, you're smoking hot. So the Delta 3 Max is 85 or above. You may notice that in the DC, and before I go to the DC drain test, so what does it mean to have done this test? For the Delta 3 Classic, we got 845 watt hours is how much I got out of that drainage test out of 1024 watt hours, or 1 kilowatt. So what does that mean? I ran this unit like I normally would. I kept the Wi-Fi on, the Bluetooth on. I did turn the screen off because that's how I would normally run it. And I didn't want to like handicap it on purpose. I wanted to use it like I would in real life. That means that to keep itself cool and to run those other components, it used a little bit over almost 200 watts, almost 200 watt hours. So that's something you got to think about. Could I have done the test and turned the Wi-Fi off and Bluetooth off? Yeah, but I don't do that. That's not how I use these units. If you offer me the feature, I'm using it, damn it. All right. So for its big brother, we would think about that. The Delta 3 Plus, which is older. Now, these have the same AC inverter technology in them, to my understanding, but its brother got the 839 out of 1024, so that got an 81%. If I were to run it again almost a year later, I wonder where that would be at. And in the Delta 3 Max, I got 1,768 out of 2048 watt hours, and it came out at 86%. That's a pretty good score for me. The DC drain test, I specifically drain from the barrel plug from the back of the unit at 10 amps. And then I'll do a second test where I'll drain from 5 amps, which takes so much longer. So you may notice for the Delta 3 Max, I got 1,731 watt hours out of 2,048. That is a score of 84.5%. That's smoking hot. The Delta 3 Max is smoking hot when it comes to the testing for this unit. The Delta 3 Plus did 819 out of 1024. You may notice on the Delta 3 Classic, it's an NA because there is no DC barrel plug like the cigarette lighter plug, right? In order to run this test, I would have had to run it out of USB-C port at like 3 amps, and that would have just took me entirely too long. I'm not doing that. Just know that if you want that feature, this is not going to be the unit for you. 3 Classic is getting an 81%. I had to divide this by 3 because I don't have 4 categories, and the Delta 3 Max is getting an 88%. Take it as you see fit. That's going to be my testing for these units. Can they maintain what they purport? Yes, they can. Is that going to be important for you? You're going to have to make your own decision. So these type of units, I think, are really good for everyday use. It just depends on how many features that you need. So the Delta 3 Classic, the Delta 3 Max, these are some great entries for the EcoFlow lineup. Which one's going to be right for you? I think it really depends. As I said before, I think that if you need the everyday use case, get the Plus of either one of these. These may be great entry levels if you just want some great 1 kilowatt or 2 kilowatt backup units. And the thing about EcoFlow compared to some of their competitors, I think that both of these can run 99% of household products very easily. The thing that I believe makes EcoFlow stand out is their app and their tech support. I had an EcoFlow River 3 that I got, and it did an update, and the AC ports weren't working. I contacted EcoFlow like a customer. The unit was sent to me, but I contacted them like just a regular customer, and they walked me through updating the unit, and I was able to get that taken care of. And I like that type of service. So the app on these is really, really good. I think that I've used the apps for Anchor, Dapson, Ocotel, Oops, and EcoFlow, obviously. And I would say number 1 is EcoFlow, number 2 is Dapson, 3 is probably just any of those other ones that I mentioned. Much as people love Anchor, the app support and the app experience is lacking. Small things like being able to turn on the AC ports at a specific time, that's big for me because I do like to turn my espresso machine or my coffee machine or my computers on by themselves while I'm still in the bed. I'm still in the bed at 5:30 in the morning, but these units turn on the AC ports and turn them off at night. I like stuff like that. Being able to control exactly how much these units charge. My Delta 3 Plus is not allowed to charge above 90% when it's plugged up with AC, and it's not allowed to drain below 10%. And I was able to control all this with the app. And that's important to me because I want the ability to try to just stretch out the longevity of these batteries as much as possible. I mean, you're already going to get a 10-year span out of these LiPo4 batteries, and you can get up to a 5-year warranty, but it's usually the best pricing and the best service if you get it directly from their website. But being able to control stuff like that is super important to me. So as we approach Prime Day coming up for Amazon, these things are probably going to be a part of that. But the biggest thing for me is that as we approach the winter months, I really want you to think about, if you're going to try to get yourself a unit to keep an electric blanket going, a space heater, you may want to get a 2 kilowatt unit, anything like that. This is the time to think about that stuff. Ice storms are coming. We're at the very end of hurricane season, but we're still in it right now. And then we're going to be in the midst of winter faster than you can imagine. But tell me, what do you think? The new products that came in from EcoFlow, these are some big boys. Smash or pass for these brand new products. I don't know the final pricing on these bad boys. Check the link in the description for any discounts and pricing information, because I'm not sure of it yet. But first time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.